Hey guys, it's Vicky, and today I'm here to share with you all the books that I read in the month of December. So how did I round out my 2020 reading year? Let's find out. So I ended up reading 6 things in December, and 2 of them were pretty chunky, so that's good. There are 2 though that I already actually reviewed here on my channel. They were 5-star predictions. Yeah, those are already wrapped up in that video, which I will link for you if you want my full thoughts on these books. But I talked about Needful Things by Stephen King and also We Sold Our Souls by Grady Hendrix. So make sure you go check out that video if you want to see my thoughts on them. Okay, so I have 4 books that I'm going to talk about here. One of them I actually technically finished on January 1st, but I don't want to wait a whole month to wrap it up, so I'm going to include it in this video. But before I get to that one, let's talk about the first book that I completed in the month, and that was Saga Volume 2 by Brian K. Vaughan. This series is so much fun. I really loved this one as well. And I can't really talk too much about the plot because, you know, it's the second volume. But I will say that this one kind of details or goes into more detail about how our 2 main characters met, our 2 star-crossed lovers, if you will. So you get a little bit of their backstory, and you get introduced to some characters from their past, so that's kind of cool too. So yeah, the story is moving along very nicely. I really love it. I love just the world and just sort of the way that some of these like species and stuff look. Like it's visually great, the story's great, even though it has sci-fi sort of elements and fantasy sort of elements. I'm loving it. So yeah, this was a 5-star read for me. So then the next book that I finished in December was one that Leia and I have been working on, and it is the 3rd book in the Warrior series by Aaron Hunter. This one is called Forest of Secrets. So you guys have heard me talk about this series before. This is the series about the group of feral cats that live, and they have different clans that they live in and different territories, and they basically protect their territory. And so it's about how they interact with each other, and there's a lot of drama and like political intrigue and stuff in these books. And you know, I'm really growing to love this series. Honestly, when we started the first book, I was kind of just like laughing at it a little bit. Like, is this book for real? Like, I think these cats take themselves too seriously. But I am really getting invested in this, especially in this book. I was like totally into it. And I was the one who was like, Leia, we have to read Forest of Secrets tonight because I want to know what happens. So, and I think the reason that I enjoyed this one the most so far is because of the types of conversations that it brought up with my 6-year-old. Because in this one, you are dealing with friendships being tested. You're dealing with a lot of talk about loyalty. There is betrayal in here. There's death and guilt, sort of guilty feelings going on. And so there's just a lot of kind of more complex sort of themes going on, but it's with cats. So it kind of makes it a little more like approachable to talk about with a child. And it definitely had Leia asking questions. And so we had some really great kind of discussions. And yeah, I did not think I would get that out of a book about cats, but there it is. So hopefully we will be reading the 4th book in the series soon because she did get it for Christmas. So yeah, we're excited to move on and see what else is going to happen with Fireheart and the rest of the Warrior Cats. So this one was a 4-star read for me. Okay, so let's get into the most depressing book I've ever read. Yeah. So this month I read A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara, and this was our Random Reads book club pick. Bobby and I chose this book, and yeah, we knew going in that it was a sad book. It was going to be depressing, and it certainly was. So this book deals with 4 friends that went to college together and moved to New York together to kind of start their adult life. So you have Malcolm, who is an architect. You have JB, who's an artist. Willem is an aspiring actor and Jude is a lawyer. And so they basically go to New York with nothing and they're just kind of starting out. And so the book sort of chronicles their friendship. And the four of them are very different, but together they just work. They just click. The four of them are just this great friend group. And it just kind of takes you through their friendship, which was the first surprising thing about this book, was that it spans like 30 years. And for some reason, even though it's a big long book, I didn't think it was going to, go through such a span of time, but it did. One of our main characters, basically the main character that is focused on in this book, is Jude. And right from the get-go, you know that Jude has sort of a mysterious past. You don't really know a lot about his childhood, his upbringing, and he's very, very quiet about it. And you slowly start to gather that it wasn't great. There was some stuff that happened. And throughout the book, you see that Jude definitely has struggles with mental illness and just a lot of stuff because of the horrible, horrible traumas that he experienced as a child that you do find out throughout the book. So yeah, when people say that this book has trigger warnings for basically everything, it really does. It deals with a lot of bad things. So yeah, it's no surprise that this is a heavy book. It deals with this main character who you really grow to feel for and feel connected to. And it's very difficult to see him go through his life living the way he's living because of the result of these traumas that he experienced as a child. It's hard to read about characters that you like and care for going through horrible, horrible things, and that's what happens in this book. Now, I don't know what this says about me, but I did not cry in this book. But I know, I've seen a few vlogs where people have just broken down, sobbing, crying over this book, and I can see why. It is a very emotional story. It is a very hard read. It is. I don't know why I didn't cry. I think, honestly, there's actually a quote in here that, I have to look it up really quick. There's a quote in here that perfectly portrays, I think, how I felt reading this book. Okay, so the quote is, "I felt so many things at once that together they combined to make nothing, a numbness, an absence of feeling caused by a surplus of feeling." And I think that's how I felt about this book. There's just a lot. I think I felt a lot of anger because of what happened to Jude and what it did to him as an adult and just as a human being, and the way that he has to go through life because of these traumas. And so the book touches on what it is like to experience these things and how it can carry into your life forever. As much as you try to forget those types of things, it just doesn't work that way for a lot of people. And I think it also really touched on what it's like to love and care for somebody that has suffered a trauma or traumas, and what that's like, because they just don't see themselves the way you see them, and that can be very heartbreaking and very frustrating. And so I feel like it kind of showed you both sides, and it showed it very well. The writing in here was beautiful. It really was. It was beautiful. I was captivated the whole time. I never felt bored for it being such a long book. It didn't feel long. I certainly didn't think I was going to finish it this month before I started reading it, but it was kind of one of those books I was very captivated by and I didn't want to put down. Jude is definitely a character that I will never forget. There was just so much about him that you really just got so attached to him throughout the book. One of my favorite characters in here was a character named Harold, who was one of Jude's professors in college, and I really loved their relationship and how it changed over time. It was my favorite one to see and to read about. My only kind of complaint in here was, of the four characters, I wish we had gotten a little more of Malcolm, because Malcolm really didn't get a lot of time in this book. He's talked about a lot, but there weren't any chapters that specifically focused on him that I can remember. And so he was always kind of in the background, and I kind of wanted a little more of him. I felt like he kind of got cast aside. The focus is definitely more on Jude and Willem. But yeah, this book was really good. But again, it's not an easy read. For me in particular, which this is obviously a trigger warning too, for self-harm. The self-harm stuff in here was really tough for me to read through. That was definitely the hardest thing. This is the type of book I don't necessarily feel comfortable recommending to people, because you have to be, I think, in a certain frame of mind, or knowing that it's going to be really, really tough. It's going to leave you feeling a lot of things. So, or in my case, I felt kind of numb by the end, but it's just one of those books that definitely is a lot to get through, and it kind of stays with you, but it's beautifully written. The themes of friendship and found family were great in here. I loved those themes, and I definitely think it's worth the read if you think you want to do it, if you're ready for it. Otherwise, wait until you're in a better place mentally, because it might make you feel pretty depressed. But yeah, I loved this, I really did, and I gave it 5 stars. And then the last book I'm going to talk about, I technically finished on January 1st, but I'm going to talk about it now because I want to talk about it now. I don't want to wait a month to talk about it. I read a parenting book. This is Busy Toddler's Guide to Actual Parenting by Susie Allison. Like I said in my January TBR, because I really didn't think I was going to finish this as quickly as I did, but it actually was a very quick read. But this is a parenting book written by Susie Allison, who is an Instagrammer. Her Instagram page is Busy Toddler. Susie is a mother of 3, and she was also, before she became a stay-at-home parent, she was a teacher. She taught kindergarten, I think, and 1st grade for a little bit too. So she just really has a lot of knowledge about kids. So when I heard that she was coming out with a book, I really wanted to pick it up. I really wanted to support her because I absolutely love her Instagram page. I've learned so much from Susie. And the thing about this book that I really loved was that it is very practical. A lot of the stuff that she talks about, when you can tell she's coming at it, I mean, obviously from a parenting standpoint, but as an educator as well. And so when she kind of explains things, you're like, oh yeah, like, why didn't I think of that? And a lot of her little kind of phrases that she uses, like being 2 is fine, in regards to toddlers, you know, the things they do when they're 2 and that kind of stuff. I just really love and appreciate. And the biggest thing that I love about Susie, her page and this book, are the activities that she has for kids to do that are very simple, but they are amazing in terms of kids kind of navigating play and learning things. They're very simple. She's really big on sensory bins, which I have now become a big fan of because of her. Basically, like, if you've got a bag of rice and a couple of measuring cups, put it in a big bin, have the kids go nuts, like that kind of stuff. So her activities are also very practical and inexpensive, things that you probably have around your house or that you could go get at the dollar store. So you're not spending a ton of money, but these types of things are really enriching to children in terms of how they play and just everything. I just really love this book, and I loved that a lot of it was stuff that I was already kind of familiar with because I follow her on social media, but so she's talked about a lot of these things before, or like a lot of her like anecdotal sort of stories I've heard before because of being a follower of hers. But it's still nice to have it all in one place, and you know, especially the activities, because she kind of breaks them down like sort of like this kind of thing, where she'll put the activities on a page and like tell you what you need and all that, and it's nice to just kind of have it all in one place. So yeah, I loved this book a lot. I haven't read a ton of parenting books, you know, since I became a parent, but this one I found to just be very down to earth, very practical. I didn't feel like I was being attacked or being told that like I'm a crappy parent. It just, you know, it was great, and I really loved it, and I'm glad that Susie wrote a book. And if you are a person that's looking for parenting books to read, or like looking for activities to do with your kids if you're home with your kids, or if you're a nanny or whatever, definitely pick this book up. It's great. And also go follow Susie on Instagram. Again, her page is Busy Toddler. She's fantastic. I love her. And yeah, this was a 5-star book for me. All right, guys, so those were my books that I read in December. And yeah, it was pretty good. Like I said, I didn't talk about Needful Things in this video, but it was a big book. I mean, it was big. A Little Life was big. And yeah, I'm glad that I got to read the books I did to finish off 2020. Sayonara, good riddance, see you later. I'm ready for 2021. So yeah, let me know down below what you read in December. How did you finish out your reading year? I would love to hear what everybody read. Yeah, let's talk about it in the comments. So I hope you guys are having a wonderful week, and I hope that January treats you well, and I will talk with you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.